Star Wars collectors, and welcome to another Bosk's Bounty video. And in this video I'm going to be reviewing the Star Wars The Vintage Collection Padmé Amidala from Attack of the Clones. Now this figure is included in the newest wave of Vintage Collection figures which were actually scheduled for next year. This was supposed to be wave 1 of 2026. Hopefully you've already watched the overview video of all of the figures. This is going to be the individual review starting with Padmé Amidala. Now, although I did import these, it does seem that they will be released hopefully in the coming weeks, which means everybody will be getting them slightly earlier than the, actual release date, which was supposed to be like February 2026. So that is pretty awesome. Otherwise, it would have been a pretty long wait. Now, hopefully you've already watched the overview video of the whole wave, just checking out the figures very, very quickly in their packaging. But Padmé is obviously the first figure that I'm going to be reviewing from the wave, and the rest will follow, including Shaak Ti and the Stranger, and we're also going to be reviewing Darth Vader as well from this particular wave. So if you do happen to enjoy the video, hit the like button down below. As always, subscribe if you are new to the channel, and let's take a look at that card back. Alright then, so here is the packaging for Padmé Amidala, and as you can see, the image there is of her on Tatooine before they make their way to Geonosis. Now obviously this figure is being released under the whole Battle of Geonosis theme. We're getting quite a few figures from that, including Shaak Ti, which will be coming up on the channel. But that doesn't mean that they can't use other images from Attack of the Clones. It doesn't necessarily have to be from the Battle of Geonosis. Plus the figure there actually matches this card back here, and this is how she looked in the scenes in the droid factory on Geonosis. Obviously when she ends up in the arena, she gets attacked by one of the creatures, and then we can do a little bit of a comparison with the figure that I have of Padmé Amidala with the ripped clothing and things like that, and the the scratches on her back. I do believe that we have had this attire before, maybe in the Legacy collection. I do not have that figure to take a look at and compare, unfortunately, so we will be just reviewing this one and then comparing her against that 3.75 inch Black Series one that I just mentioned there. So this is VC383 in the line. There's the figure out of the packaging, standing in front of the card back, Vintage Collection logo on the back. They've gone for a red name pill with red panel behind the figure, which obviously really makes it pop because she's in all white or like a creamy outfit, and yeah, she looks great. So with all that being said, let's open up the figure and take a look. Alright then, so here is Padmé Amidala out of the packaging in a pretty simple action pose there, holding the larger of the two blasters. The smaller blaster is currently in her holster, which is the right way round. This blaster does not fit into the holster. It has to be the smaller one of the two, and she looks pretty cool. I do want to take a much closer up look at the figure, including the head sculpt and the portrait and everything, just to see how accurate the likeness is. Now of course with these new figures it's often pretty good, so hopefully that's going to be the case. And just to reiterate, this is an all new figure. It's completely from the ground up all new, and hopefully they will use some of that figure at least to maybe put out this version of the Padmé with the scratches on the back. We will do a little side by side in a second, but now we've seen her in that pose, we'll take a much closer up look at the figure, including that portrait. Alright, so here we have a super close up look at that portrait and the head sculpt, and all in all I think they've done a pretty decent job. Of course from certain angles it looks better than others, but I think the sculpt is pretty good, and you can see the really nice sculpting work that they've done on that hair, particularly on the bun. Some nice intricate details there as we go round, and the paint applications have been done pretty well on the figure as well. And then if we bring the figure out slightly, we can see some of that detail. There isn't really too much going on with the figure because essentially she's kind of like almost wearing like an all-in-one sort of suit. It's all very similar for the whole of the figure. You've got the boot detail there, which is very, very similar to the previous figure that we had. If we just bring those boots in, very, very similar, but of course, this is an all-new sculpt. She has those silver sort of gauntlets going around the top of her arms. They're nicely painted. And the cloak here, which is a sort of soft vinyl plastic rather than soft goods, has got some really nice texture going on. Not just the sculpting work in terms of all the folds and everything, but just in terms of the actual detail of the garment itself. can just see all those little bobbles going on. And I do like the way that it goes around her neck there and all those folds. Something that you can't easily accomplish with a soft goods material. So sometimes they go for the option of the harder goods rather than the soft goods. I mean, if I had a choice, I'd prefer it to be soft goods always, but sometimes, I don't know, you know, they just wouldn't be able to accomplish that basically with soft goods. So there you go. She has that belt detail going around her waist with some pouches either side with the holster as well. And there you can just see that little blaster in the holster. Just see there. That fits in quite nicely. One little pouch next to it. And then the other pouch is on the other side there. Now, if we are to take the head off, you can just see there's a double barbell. Then you are able to remove the hard goods cape or cloak, whatever you want to call it. And then if we just put the head back on, we'll just see what that does to the neck. And yeah, that's good. She doesn't seem to have too much of a long neck or anything to accommodate that piece. So that's pretty good. So we can just imagine, you know, when they do, if and when they do bring out this version, the sort of battle hardened version, if you like, with the scratches on the back, you can imagine what it would be like and how much of this figure that they could use. So essentially everything from the waist down that they could reuse. We just need to do a new torso really. The rest of the figure, apart from this arm, would have to be different. Looking back at the 3.75 inch version, I did sort of look at this figure to see how well that they did the head sculpt, and I'm really getting sort of 11 from Stranger Things vibes when I look at this figure now. Not so much on camera, but in hand, definitely a 11 from Stranger Things, whereas this one, I think they've captured Natalie Portman a little bit better. You know, not from all angles, but definitely from front on, actually, I think that looks pretty cool. And I said the hair piece there is really, really good. If we just compare that to the previous one, loads more detail going on there. Much more of a intricate sculpt. But yeah, all in all, a really nice figure. As I said, all new from top to bottom, which is what we like to see in the vintage collection as much as possible. Let's just take a closer up look at this cape or cloak. Really nice piece that. You can just see where it goes over the neck. And as I say, you can just see like it's like a very soft vinyl plastic, but I do like the detail. In terms of articulation, we just saw that the head is on the double barbell from when we move that around. You can just see there, lots of range of motion. We have the hinges at the shoulders, which go all the way around. Pretty decent elbow joints as well. They just go a little past 90. We have the torso, which is just at the sort of belt, sort of lower torso. That is on like a ball, so it does move around. It's not just a swivel. It does go back and forth as well, side to side. Lots of range of motion there. We have the barbell hips on Padmé, which is very, very good. And she looks pretty good just standing there. Sometimes these figures can look like they're wearing nappies, but I actually think that that's done pretty well. We do have the cut at the top of the thigh. Knee joint just goes about 90, and she does have rocker ankles. And the only thing really missing with this figure is any hinges on those wrists. They just don't seem to do that anymore because that pin in that wrist on female characters is so small these days. So literally we've just got the swivel at the wrist. They don't put the hinges in anymore, which is a bit of a shame, especially for like female Jedi characters like Ahsoka and things like that, but might get away with it with Padmé. She comes with two blasters, as you saw. So the first one there is this very, very small blaster here, tiny weeny little thing. It does have some paint applications on the handle, but the rest of it is silver. But the great thing about these accessories these days is that they are using much better plastic. There is no gumminess or bendiness to this little blaster, and in actual fact the slightly larger one as well isn't really that bendy either. They've actually, you know, improved the plastic. I think if this was to be released like a year and a half ago, this would be bending all over the place, you know, but no, they're actually quite sturdy, which is a good thing. Here's the smaller one again. You can just see when I get the figure up, that just goes into the holster quite nicely, like so. And there she is, Padmé. So yeah, just bringing in this one once again, the 3.75 inch Black Series version, you can really see that the majority of the figure is already there. Essentially, it's a new arm and a new torso, and then they've got this version. Obviously, you know, then they can put the scratches on the back with the blood and everything to make that figure. So I would hope that we will eventually get that version of Padmé, because this one isn't sort of like the true version from the Battle of Geonosis, at least from the arena scenes anyway. But there you go, that's Padmé. Alright then, so the last thing I wanted to do in this video is show you how tall the Padmé figure is in relation to Anakin Skywalker. So here is Anakin. Obviously these two outfits match each other as well. They go together in the scenes, which is great. And this figure isn't actually too bad, really. He's missing some articulation on his wrists, but he does have rocker ankles. Doesn't have the barbell hips, of course, but he is a pretty cool figure. He actually first came out in the 3.75 inch Black Series along with this figure. And then if we just plonk this one next to her as well, you can see that they are very, very similar in height as well. So there is some consistency there. So there you go. That is Padmé standing next to Anakin. So that's it for the review. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Overall, I'm very, very happy with what they've done with this Padmé figure. It would be very nice to get this version of her in the future, but this one is a very, very nice figure indeed. Goes very nicely with the Anakin that we already have. But as I said, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Are you going to be picking this one up? Let me know. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you to my Patreon supporters and channel members as always. Your support means a great deal to me. It's greatly appreciated, so thank you so much. Thank you for watching, everybody, and we shall see you on the next one.